So we will be starting with our study about victimology. So this is Introduction to Victimology. Okay, so this lesson presents the concepts, model, and theories relevant to victimology. At the end of the lesson, you should be able to contrast the models, concepts, and theories relevant to victimology. Okay, so define muna natin kung ano ang victimology. Victimology, as an academic term, contains two elements. One is the Latin word victima, which translates into victim. And the other is the Greek word logos, which means a system of knowledge, the direction of something abstract, the direction of teaching, science, and a discipline. Kaya, ang term na victimology, again, it came from the words victima and logos. So, in short, study of victims or the uh, system of knowledge about victims. Yun ang literal meaning ng victimology. It is the scientific study of the psychological effects of crime and the relationship between victims and the offender. Because when you have been victimized, hindi lang physical ang magiging epekto nun sa'yo. But, mas malala pa nga ang posibleng maging epekto ng ang pagkakaroon ng psychological effects nitong pagkabiktima mo ng isang krimen. It examines victim patterns and tendencies, studies how victims and offender interact with the police and the legal system, and analyzes how factors of class, race, and sexual orientation affect the perception of the victim by different constituents, including the public, the court system, and the media. Okay? When you uh, become a victim, more or less, meron ka na kasing na-establish na pattern at nakita na ito nung iyong perpetrator. At in victimology, those patterns are also studied. Bakit ka nabiktima? Papaano ka nabiktima? Paano ka na-trace noong perpetrator? Kaya, tinitignan lahat yan. Okay. So, according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, victimology is the study of the ways in which the behavior of crime victims to may have led to or contributed to their victimization. In criminology kasi ang pinag-aaralan natin are the criminals themselves. The crime they were able to commit, the their criminal behavior. We study that. While in victimology, parang ganun din. Pero yung biktima naman ang pag-aaralan natin. Bakit siya ang napiling biktima? Sa dami ng tao sa mundo, bakit siya ang naging biktima? Yun, ina-analyze in victimology. It is the scientific study of victimization, including the relationship between victims and offenders, victims and the criminal justice system, and victims and other social groups and institutions, such as the media, businesses, and social movements. It studies victims of crimes and other forms of human rights violations that are not necessarily a crime. So it is the scientific study of victimization, including the relationships between victims and offenders, the interactions between victims and the criminal justice system, and the connections between victims and other societal groups and institutions such as media, business, and social movements. Because in victimology, there are other people involved, di ba? Kasi in the criminal justice system, ang biktima parang hindi na siya nagiging, ah, kumbaga wala na talaga siyang bahagi, wala siyang part. Maliban na lang kung kukunin siya as a witness in court. But basically, the criminal justice system is for the criminal. So when we are studying victimology, uh, pinag-aaralan din kung papaano ba ang nagiging relationship ng victim and those other players in the criminal justice system. in order for us to better understand kung bakit nga ba nahuhulog bilang isang biktima ang isang tao. Then, the scientific study of the extent, nature, and causes of criminal victimization, its consequences for the persons involved, and the reactions thereto by society, in particular the police and the criminal justice system, as well as voluntary workers and professional helpers. Victimology is an academic scientific discipline which studies data that describes phenomena and causal relationships related to victimizations. Tinitignan kung sino yung mga naging part ng buhay mo, kung ikaw yung victim. Tinitignan kung sino yung may mga, sino yung direktang may dahilan kung bakit ka naging biktima. Ano yung mga circumstances during that time? Ano yung phenomena kaya sila nahulog sa pagka-biktima? This includes events leading to the victimization, the victim's experience, its aftermath, and the reactions taken by society in response to these victimizations. Therefore, victimology includes the study of the precursors, vulnerabilities, events, impacts, recoveries, and responses by people, organizations, and cultures related to victimization. Ang bawat tao kasi magkakaiba talaga ng circumstances, magkakaiba ang mga experiences, magkakaiba ang mga taong nakakasalamuha, iba-iba rin ang kultura nila. Kaya, in victimology, you study all of that. Sa ganitong kultura, accepted ang isang bagay. Ngayon, kaya naging biktima siya dahil nasa ibang kultura siya na hindi naman pinapractice yung nakasanayan na niya. Yung mga ganong bagay. So, tinitignan lahat. Okay. From this victimization, victimology encompasses the study of victimization, yung pagka-biktima, victim-offender relationships, yung kung sino yung gumawa ng krimen sa laban doon sa biktima. Ayun, yung relationship nila. Hindi yung relationship na magjowa ha. Yung relationship as the victim and the offender. Yun nga. And then yung nabang ito, victim and the criminal justice system relationships, victims and the media. Minsan kasi, uh, there are events or there are crimes na kapag pinalabas sa media, kahit hindi naman siya big deal, nagiging big deal siya. Kasi nga napabalita na eh. So, the media has a big responsibility with the victim, even with the offender, with the authorities, lahat yan. And in victimology, it includes kung papaano ba ang reaction ng media sa pagiging biktima ng isang tao. Victims and the costs of crime. Kapag, eto na, napag-aralan nyo na to sa Introduction to Criminology. Ang krimen magastos. Magastos kasi pag may nagawang krimen, gagawa ng investigasyon. Siyempre, pag nag-imbestiga ka, may expenses na kasama yan. Panggas nung sasakyan dahil siyempre yung mga pulis babiyahe, yung pasahod mo sa pulis, yung kung umabot na yan sa korte, siyempre magpiprint ka ng mga records mo, ng mga files, ng mga ebidensya, di ba? So magastos. Pinag-aaralan din yon sa victimology. Costs of crime and the victim. And lastly, we have the victims and social movements. Kung papaano kumilos within society. Okay, who is a crime victim? So this generally refers to any person, group, or entity who has suffered injury or loss due to illegal activity. The harm can be physical, psychological, or economic. Legally, victim typically includes the following: a person who has suffered direct or threatened physical, emotional, or pecuniary harm as a result of the commission of a crime. So, kapag direkta kang nabiktima, sinampal ka, sinaksak ka, binaril ka, ninakawan ka, yon direct victimization yon. Pero kung threatened, wala pa talagang actual na ginagawa sa krimen. Pero may pananakot na. O syempre, kahit na tinakot ka pa lang, eh yun nga yung goal eh, 'di ba? Yung matakot ka. So, merong harm yon sa'yo, emotional, psychological harm, di ba? And in the case of a victim being an institutional entity, any of the same harms by an individual or authorized representative of another entity. So, a crime victim is someone who is put to death or subjected to torture or suffering by another. Kapag pinatay ka, kapag sinaktan ka ng iba. And then anyone who is harmed by or made to suffer from an act, circumstance, agency, or condition. And then a person who suffers injury, loss, or death as a result of voluntary undertaking. And then a person who is tricked, swindled, or taken advantage of a dupe. So, ninakawan ka, binudol-budol ka. Yun.